sorry, and I appreciate that. But if everyone can kind of bring it down a little bit, bring it down here, I'll give you an overview of how we're going to run the meeting. I'll be completely candid. This is a little different format than we were taking on here. Excuse me.
I think they're all coming.
I'm sorry. Hello. And I think it's important because we're trying to open a communication between the owners and the board, and we're trying to give you a candid look at what we're doing and what we're talking about, which is a new approach. So please forgive me if it's a little bit choppy tonight, but this is going to be the format. So we've given out the agenda. It's been modified because there were a few presentation changes. The overall format is the same. So let me give you an overview of the agenda. So the agenda tonight is that these are the opening statements, and I'm going to give you the purpose of the meeting tonight. The purpose. I'm telling you now the agenda.
Your agenda.
He said same thing out an agenda.
There was one sitting before, I believe.
We never got it. We've given out. We don't have anything in that.
Daniel, can you put the agenda up? Can we project the agenda?
1 second.
How about can you print one from the office back there and hand it out?
We can copy it. Again, this is not a formal meeting, so let's not construe this as any business. This is an information exchange. I'll try to get Daniel to project it, and we'll send it out, but I'm really just trying to open the dialogue. So it's an open agenda. It's not formal. I'm not asking any of you to subside or carry out or, not participate. So that would defeat the purpose of the whole thing. So,
Wait, could I just ask something for the future? When you have board meetings and you project...
this is not a board meeting. Wow.
But if you're having a meeting tonight, let me finish, and you project things here, there's a whole side of the room that can't see.
No, we'll reformat it. Listen, we're kind of switching this around. It was different before. It was laid out in linear and everyone faced it all this way. I agree that obviously it should be projected up here and above and behind, and it should be so that the board members can see it on the tablet. All that is and I appreciate that, and it is true that on this side can see it, but it should be projected or behind us and above, and we should have access to the front. So yes. But I really, honestly, I apologize that I didn't meet everyone's standards or everyone's formats, but I'm trying to introduce something new, and it's always a little choppy when you go somewhere new. So I really want us all to participate and be part of it. So Daniel, can we get to the agenda just first? Can we just forward to the agenda? And again, this is not a formal agenda, it's just a format so we can have talking points and we can all stay on the same page. So the purpose of the meeting tonight is for What's Up Galaxy is the R&R projects, where we are with what's going on here, what our current financial situation is, what the board approved before. So this is the agenda. I'm giving the opening statement now. What we're really going to talk about is what previous boards and current boards have already approved, where our finances are, where we are with the current financial situation, and the projection through the end of next year. So it's really about giving you guys an overall perspective of the things that we talk about all the time every month and we meet and discuss that are not necessarily brought to an open meeting. Open meeting and discussions that we talk about, and we're going to move forward. So description, overview, and R&R, cash flow. Joe's going to give you that in a few minutes. The overview of the current R&R project payment. Dorothy is going to do that. Unfortunately, she has an illness that has kept her away. So I will give you the update on all that. Those are current projects in process, where we are with all of those. I'll go over that a little bit. Projected projects under consideration. Those are the current funds that are already collected that we have in the operating fund, and where we project and what we want to do with them in the next 2 years and the following year. You'll get more details as we go underway with that. The CNA project objectives, that's Richard Vasquez. And then the B.O.D. individual priorities, these are things that board members have selected and chosen to kind of take on as their own and overview and sort of spearhead. And they'll give you, each of those will give you all the overview and project points and bullet points that the board is considering looking at, where we are with them and where we see that being in the next 12 months, 6 months. And then the last, we're going to do a closing, questions and closing, and we'll open that, we're going to do that as an open format. The only thing that I will ask everyone to be considerate of everyone else, I will ask individually for people to speak. We'll stay here. We're going to ask everyone to limit that to 3 minutes per response. At some point, we'll close it out, but I'll stay here and we'll continue talking. We have a lot going on. I think this is a great time to be in the Galaxy. There's a lot of things happening last year that have not happened in a very long time. We're making progress and we want to move forward. So we want to keep everyone involved and keep everyone participating. And it's difficult, and there's a lot of opinions and there's a lot of priorities that are not necessarily in line. Sometimes they're very conflicting as who wants what done when. So I think it's important that we open the dialogue and we try to move forward. So we'll move on to the second thing, which is Joe's description and overview of the R&R, and I'll turn it over to Joe.
So maybe we could put some air conditioning on, it's really warm.
That would be great. Danielle, do you have someone here who can tell me?
I called already.
What's that?
I already called them
sorry.
for the,
You call me?
yes.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming out tonight. I just want to start by walking you kind of through where we are, give you a feel for where we are with the cash on just strictly this is R&R. And the balance at the end of August is about $4.9 million. There's another slide where we'll get into a little more detail of what's to go on the current projects that are approved. But the remaining cash impacts for 2017, we're going to have about $967,000 come in through R&R from September through December. Then the outflows for current projects, which we can get into a little more detail in the next slide, is just over $3 million. And then looking through 2018, if maintenance remains flat at the $3 million, you'll have a cash inflow of about $2.9 million. And it's $2.9 million versus a $3 million because there's about $100,000 of bad debt included into that number. And projects that are currently approved by the board that would remain, that would be paid out in 2018 is about $268,000. So based on just looking at the projects that the board has approved through year-end 2018, the board has approximately $5.5 million for additional projects that they have to work on. And you know, that's the tool that we use is on the next page. We have a cash flow worksheet, and this is the cash flow worksheet, which breaks out in detail by project what the board has approved. And you'll see we track the total current project cost. We have a spend to date column, and then we have the project balance to go.
Can we get to Joe this information?
I'm sorry, Penny, and I don't mean to cut you off, but we will make all this available.
Okay.
We'll put
It's
it.
very tough. I want to see where is my money. So
Okay, wait. So let me just say two things. And Joe, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But this is in the financial statement. This is a restatement of information that comes out every month in the accounting statement. So what we're trying to do here tonight is to kind of organize it and compartmentalize it so that it's a little easier to understand, because I don't get it either. It's a lot of information that comes out in the financial statement every month. All of this information is in the financial statement, but this deck we will make available to you.
Listen, I know.
We'll make it available to everyone, absolutely.
So overall, you would see there's about $6.8 million worth of projects that are ongoing that haven't been fully paid for at this point in time. Within that, we've paid out $3.3 million to date on those projects. So there's a balance of about $3.5 million that'll go out beyond that. The top section, I'll just briefly, it's highlighted in gray. It's the elevator modernization. You have the Tower 1 walkway, change orders to that, as well as the management office reconstruction. The three below the elevator mod related to the flood that we had. These are in litigation, so we're not going to get into too much detail, but we are holding the cash reserve for those. We don't expect to pay it, but again, I don't think it's appropriate to get into too much detail with them at this point in time due to the pending litigation and insurance implications. The elevator modernization, we've held the last payment due to ride quality, and until they could complete the punch list, we were just holding back that last payment, and that's a reserve for that payment. We don't think they're going to meet the complete ride quality, so that money may eventually be released. So that's just why those are highlighted and held separate. And if you just summed up the balance versus the cash outflows that we have remaining, you'd notice there's a difference of $211,200, and those are the projects that make up that difference. We don't have a cash outflow on the right-hand side of this statement showing because we're not anticipating paying that cash out, but it's calculated in the overall cash projections that we have. So this is a piece of the tool that the board uses so that we're on top of our cash and we're understanding where everything's going. Underneath this, which is a board tool, it wouldn't be released to the homeowners, but there are projects that the board prioritizes, and Richard Vasquez is going to talk a little bit later about a CNA, which is a tool that's going to help the board prioritize urgent needs versus aesthetic or things of that nature, emergency, but he'll talk more about that. But once those numbers again would go into this tool where we'd have an additional cash flow below this, estimated those projects, because we don't put them out to bid, we may talk to engineers, use industry intelligence from plan or other projects that were done to kind of give the board a feel for how much those projects are going to cost so that you could see the implications to the cash flow. And it's a tool just to help the board prioritize which projects you can do and which you can't, because there may be things you want to do that may pop your value because it's aesthetic, but then you may have emergency things that you need to do, or there's going to be, some real problems, whether it's water, sewage, things of that nature. So that kind of is this is just a tool. We wanted the owners to have visibility into it, to give you confidence that we're tracking this stuff, we're all over it, we're managing it, and we're looking at future years. The budget's coming up. In this instance, we put the maintenance as flat at $3 million. That's a board decision. So if that goes up or down, it would get input into this spreadsheet, and the ending cash flow would go up or down based on the dollars that are going to come in month by month. The next slide is just a sample to again show the owners how we work with these, especially the larger projects where there's multiple payments. So we track each project individually. In Excel, we have different individual tabs for each project. We'll let you know whether the contract's signed, unsigned, who the contractor is. If there was an engineering firm, it's in there. So for historical purposes, we can now track if we're going to want to see O&S, did they do a good job, bad job? Now we're going to be able to know whether these projects were successful, which will help us evaluate talent on the engineers in the future as well. Right now, we'll put in here what's been approved by the board, the contract amount, if there were any change orders and or contingency dollars to track it, how they were used to again applied against that, and then each and every individual check that goes out. And the totals that you'll see on here, the $1,882,000 ties right back into the second slide that we were in under the boiler total project. Your $743,000 that went out ties right into your cash out the door, and your balance remaining will tie into your balance. So we tick and tie these just to make sure the numbers are making sense. And for officers who sign checks, These will be printed out behind the invoice so that we can see, you know, the history of it, make sure what we're signing makes sense and is accurate, and we're tracking all the payments that came in and went out, and we're not going over or under because, you know, each check number is listed on it, the amount, the date, so we can easily tie this stuff out and have comfort that we're getting on the right track with all this stuff. So that was my overview of where we are for the money. Again, I'll reiterate, at this point in time, if you subtract out the approved projects, that it's mandatory, the cash is going out the door, we approved it, assuming there's no change orders, the board has approximately $5.5 million through 2018 to fund future projects, which the board has to prioritize. And I think Wade wanted this meeting tonight to also get input from the owners to see what type of projects you guys are interested in as well, and, you know, help the board so we can hear your input and see what the community wants to prioritize versus, you know, some of the emergency things that the board does know that we have to prioritize. So this was more just educational on that front for you guys. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. So I just want to do a real quick recap. So if you go back to the approved R&R projects, that goes back to garage reconstruction, current phases, security for garage project, engineering, updating garage, the generator testing, which is going on right now, new boilers and heat exchangers, hallway redecorating, hallway carpet, hallway signage installation, engineering, plaza driveway, security for hallway project, the hallway project specialist, the women's locker room, which has a placeholder, which we'll touch on later when the director is going to speak on that specifically, the restoration team, the transformer testing, sewer lift station. So it's quite a busy year for the Galaxy. We have a lot going on. We're making significant progress. We're staying on budget. We have any assessments or increases. So overall, it's a good time, and we will make this entire deck available for everyone to look at, and we are tabbing it, and we're doing project budgeting. So each project is tabbed, and each expense that we make is tabbed to a specific project. We do have some progress to make on that still. There's a little bit of lag between what we are accomplishing and how far we're moving on the accounting side and being accountable for financials, and our ability to document that and register that in real time. We have the programs in place, and that's the next step. So we're putting all those stops in place right now to capture that information and account for it. I will tell you that there is one more step we need to do, which is having that done in real time. Right now, it's a little bit of a manual process, but we're a lot ahead of where we were 4 or 5 years ago, and we're making progress every day. So, new procedures. New procedures. What we put into place since the new management has come in and the bigger projects have been in place, and I'm not going to pretend to take credit for it. It was implemented and then restructured and redefined and done from the two previous boards until now. What we do is we require AIA contracts. If any of you are not familiar with those, every contract and every invoice that comes in, all payment requisitions are clearly stated, percentage of work completed by item, lien waivers for all contracts and subcontractors, verification of contractors' COIs, and not just certificates. So each one's verified. It was put in place 2 or 3 boards ago. Carl, the previous board that was in here before us, started implementing those with Frank. We have been a little more stringent about them. We put a little more checks and balances into them. So now some of the contractors' invoices who were tagged to certain contracts, they're very specific. So any of your people who are making payments on behalf of the board or the board administration are very aware of the contract that was approved by the board and approved by the membership, the owners, and how much we paid on it, any change orders that were approved, the payments that were made, and the balance due on every contract. So that comes on every contract and every invoice. So we don't accept any change orders without lien waivers. Every payment that's made requires a lien waiver. For those of you who are not familiar, a lien waiver says that once we pay you, you can't come back to us and make a claim on previous work that was done. So there's no backbiting legal fees based on previous payments. So once we make a payment, we're requiring a lien waiver going forward, which means that we're all free and clear once we make a payment. These are all new procedures that were implemented in the last 6 months. Again, previous boards started those procedures and put those in place and required contracts and asked for those documents. So we're just putting all of the administrative staff, so it's less responsibility on the check signer and the board president and administrator, that all of those people are required to get all those documents and put them in place before it reaches that level. So we're asking everyone to be accountable, and we're verifying all the insurance levels of all contractors. We are getting new contractors in. We're accumulating a list of approved contractors for homeowners, so that if you need work done, we will have a list. It's a little well out, and it's a little bit tedious, because we need to constantly certify and recertify all those contractors. So the the administration soon will be able to give you a list of recommended contractors if you need work done, that have done work here that we have a good track record with, we check their insurance. We're not going to recommend them because that's your own personal preference, but we're continuing this process of asking them all to be certified and documented before they do any work in any unit. So we will have a history of what they, all their history and all their insurance and who's done what. And we'll be able to give you a little bit clearer guidance on that. So the next slide, Daniel. Hallway project. All of you who lived here in the last 2 years know that we've made a lot of significant progress on that. Things are going along. The total contract was $3.18 million. That included wall covering, carpets, painting, signage, corner guards, doorbells, new custom faceplates, which, by the way, they are starting to arrive next week and the following week. So here in the next 2-3 weeks, you will all get new faceplates, and the remote control doorbells are part of the faceplate. Those have all been delivered already. The last part we're waiting for faceplates, and in the next 10 to 15 days, they'll start arriving, and we'll start coordinating installation dates with everyone. Obviously, this is not going to be as quick of a process as putting down carpet, because we need to open the doors to the apartment so we can remove the back plate and the base plate and coordinate it, install the button that goes on, and each unit will get 2 receivers that will go in your unit, and they plug into an AC outlet, so you'll have 2 separate outlets. So that coordination here will be moving forward in the next 10 to 15 days. The back plate, the peephole viewer, and the wireless doorbell, that's all part of the new faceplate that's starting to be delivered here in the next 10 to 15 days. Security, project and project management is 41K and 18K. Security is the additional security that walks the halls because the fire alarms are disabled while they are taking up the carpet and sanding the floors and the dust is flying. So they have a fire watch that's posted on every floor. So that's the additional expense on security that was done. Project management, that's a salary for the project manager who completes and does the inspections every year, every week, and reports back to management. That expense will go away when the project is done. So here in the next 2 to 3 weeks, that expense will be done also. So that's specifically, we hired him just for that project. Status and timelines, 89% complete. The interior signage will be completed in the next 2 weeks. Tower 2 is delivered next week with directional signs. Tower 3 is the week following. So we're very close to getting done with this project. And personally, I have to tell you, it's been a long, long process for me. So we're about 2 years into it, but we're almost there. And I'll circle back to that in a little bit. And actually, we'll touch on it next. Because in my mind, the next process in this is to complete the lobbies. I've been here 14 years. I've seen 3 different projects started and not finished in the lobbies. Our lobbies have been semi and uncompleted for 2 years. We're almost there. The project for the hallways were written and specifically designed just for the hallways. You can all see, because you all live there now, and all your lobbies are done to the completion point of the hallway contract. So we need to finish the wallpaper to complete the whole look and tie it out. There's some decorative finishes that need to be done. A little bit more touch-up, we're almost there. And feel strongly that if we all work together and figure out how we can do this, by the end of the year, we can actually finish out that project and circle back to a few more projects that need to be done. So we're almost done with the hallway project. The status update, these charts, again, we'll circulate them. We have the completed AG and AFR, that's by shaded colors. The current in progress, awaiting redecorating. Awaiting redecorating means that the punch list is done, it's not completed. So when that's completed, it'll move to the next project. It'll move to the next steps. The boiler project status. This has been done in the manager's meeting every month, but since we're all talking about R&R projects, I asked management to give us a wrap up on it. The project summary is originally the project was 1.882.880 total cost. Project summary installation of 2 new 500 horsepower boilers and burners, new breaching, piping and boilers, new heat exchangers. Status and timeline. Boiler number 1 is completed and waiting for the DEP inspection, so it'll be online here within the next 3 or 4 weeks, depending on the DEP and when they pass the inspection. The demolition of boiler 2 will commence as soon as boiler 1 has passed the inspection. Obviously, we need to have boiler 1 online before we start the demolition of boiler 2. So as soon as that's done, we're all in line, the parts are ordered, the boilers are ordered, the equipment's in place, it's sitting, it's ready to go. So as soon as the DEP says boiler 1 passes, we're starting on boiler 2. The project completion is estimated by the end of this year. New zone isolation valves were installed. So the boiler project, we did have a couple of snags along the project. We estimated and budgeted a certain number. The engineer came in and certified the number. We had some hiccups. We had a couple of change orders along the way. All upgrades to the project, which had to do with rerouting the steam and being able to control the steam and not isolate an entire tower, but being able to isolate certain sections of the building while restoration and repair work was done, and also future work. So that was a new zone and isolation valves installed for domestic hot and cold water in all 3 towers and the pump rooms. New zone isolation valves will reduce shutdown impact on towers and accelerate future installation and repair work. So it's a recap of what I was just saying, that it was necessary so that as we move forward, we need to make restoration or even repairs, that we don't have to shut down an entire hot water line, that we can isolate certain sections, like we do with the hot water now, where it's tap fish floors 2 through 42, etc. That was not in place with the steam line. So the part of the change order was to put that in place. The update on the garage project, which is currently underway, and many of you know, but those of you who are new to us, this is an ongoing project for the Galaxy. We have completed certain stages of it. It is far from complete. It's a major project. There's probably, I'm guessing, Joe could probably speak to it better, but I would estimate there's at least $5 million worth of work left done in the garage. Over
5 years.
Yeah, it's $5 to $7 million worth of work left. There's still a considerable amount of work. And then the number changes as they begin projects in the garage. Even in the last 2 phases, they started projects and then they found towers or installation or restoration or structural work that needed to be added. So it's a substantial project. And it's something that all of us who live here need to be aware of, that as we look at our R&R fund, there's a substantial fund that needs to be allocated toward the garage. We completed a certain section. We're going for the resurfacing and the restructuring. That will be done by the end of the year. The new striping and the A&R and the rezoning and the new reserve spots and the reallocation of spots, that's still going forward. That will still be done, and then we will resume the restoration of the garage. That's still probably at least 5 to 7 years out. Just because of, and the reaction says that we have $5 to $7 million to do it next year. If we have $5 to $7 million to do it next year, nothing else will happen. Unless everyone else here has deeper pockets than I have. So if you have deeper pockets than I have and you want to increase your maintenance by 2 to 3 times what the rest of the community pays, we can finish it next year. and I'm just telling you, what the purpose of the meeting tonight is to let all of you, so we can have a common language that we all understand what we're facing. So, that's a stage project. That's not realistically going to happen in the next couple of years. It's unrealistic to think it's going to be done. So 11 and 12 structurally repairs are completed. Traffic coding and installation started on 9/26. Expected completion is 11/6. Line paintings are expected to completion by the end of this year. The line paintings have to do with the rezoning and the re-handicapping and the reserved spots. So we expect to put that all into place by the end of this year. So next on the agenda for tonight is the CNA project objectives. And I'm going to turn that over to Richard.
Sorry, I talk loud, I'm always being told to lower my voice. So this is an opportunity for me to talk in my regular voice. So anyway, one of the things that's happened is we're developing, as you can see, good financial control, internal controls, better reporting systems. So when you know where you are, the next question is, where are you going? And what we're contemplating is the development of a strategic planning process for the next 10 years to define where we're going to be and where we're going. And that's called a capital needs assessment. So what is a capital needs assessment? Capital needs assessment, or CNA, is a document developed for governing bodies and owners of buildings to assess infrastructure and all other capital needs for short and long-term financial and strategic planning. This also includes an assessment of building codes and fire safety compliance. The strategic plan would envision an approximately 10-year period determining the goals, objectives, and vision of the future galaxy. Also included is the assessment and modernization of obsolete systems. In other words, where do you want to be 10 years from now? A critical element of the strategic plan would also be to align financial resources available to meet long-term capital needs and to establish tolerance levels for the phasing of capital projects. We just talked about the garage, okay? Now, the reaction basically says, what are we going to do? But as we go through this process, we might be able to find options and new solutions that will enable us to find ways to get things done in a better and cheaper way. Tolerance levels for funding capital needs are evaluated on the basis of short and long-term burn rates and the required revenue systems. As Joe and Wade was pointing out, there's only so much money we bring in. And depending on what the CNA comes out with, we're going to have to determine how that money is going to be spent and at what rate. In those cases where critically immediate needs are identified, funding options are proactively managed as to maximize efficient and cost-effective options for financing projects and balancing priorities. In other words, we plan to avoid costly surprises. Next. It also allows for the review of past practices and policies that may not have been envisioned, that may have not envisioned future capital-related problems that need to be addressed. The examples of these things, there are things that are not included under the auspices of the GTCA and the Galaxy. They're apartment owner responsibilities. Example of these are windows, the fact that there's another consideration. We built a plant. If the plant, we've had storms here where the plant floods and we've lost the boilers. Okay, we put new boilers in, but they're still in the same place. It's time to look at these things. Okay, the HVA sleeves are rusting. Okay, and you can only, we cleaned them 10 years ago. Now we got to clean them again. Okay. Fire safety hardware and compartmentalization are included for this discussion. Okay, if you look at the doors to the garages and to some even apartments, you'll see some of them are undercut. Okay, those doors are supposed to protect us and save our lives in the case of fire conditions and smoke. There's only so long that we can avoid these problems. Okay, if you have 80-year-old windows and you get a Category 2 hurricane in here, the galaxy is going to flood. Okay, so we're not going to hide the sun with our eyes and say it's not there anymore. We're going to look at everything, and we're going to take a professional look so that we could make sure that we have all the priorities set and we take everything into consideration. As a strategic document, the CNA also allows the governing body to determine the cost-benefit of different capital investments and measure owner preferences, allowing it to attain a vision of where the galaxy should be in a 10-year period. The big and most important issue there is the owners and weighing your preferences as we begin to develop all these issues that have to be assessed. If handled successfully, it also preempts unanticipated capital expenses which would tax financial resources of the organization and create financial stresses for the ownership. We want to avoid a period where things are breaking down that have to be fixed all at once, and then all of a sudden we have a $7 million bill, not for a garage, but to have water. Okay? So these are things that we're looking at. Better to look at them now, study them, evaluate them, take into consideration all the data, and then come up with the best solution. Okay? How is a CNA strategic plan developed? The first and most important part of the CNA is to develop a communication plan to ensure that the governing body can effectively integrate the vision of the ownership into the plan. Okay? It's important that we have a good sense of where we're going with your input. Once we determine where we want to go and who we want to be, the next step is how do we get there. In order to do this, we'll require a robust collection of information regarding the galaxy's infrastructure, operation, and finances. A critical aspect of this process is the retaining of a firm to provide comprehensive engineering analysis of the condition of the various elements of our plant and infrastructure. The plumbing and valve system, as well as other core utilities, will be a priority. In addition to the engineering study to assess the condition of our infrastructure, we will need to develop a short and long-term financial strategy to achieve goals and objectives. We already have a lot of financial information in place in our position to address short-term R&R issues. When I say capital expenditures, I mean R&R expenditures. And as you can see, we have a very good handle on where we are. Years ago, when I moved here... Sorry.
Somebody won't do it.
Yeah, we've already... Okay, so, I'm sorry about that. But let me continue. I was talking about, when we talk about R&R expenditures, we're talking about capital expenditures. And we have, years ago when I was here, one of our biggest problems was we really didn't have a handle on the financial, on financial data. But we do have that handle now. And that's going to help us a lot in determining long-term approaches to all these issues that are going to be coming up. But a strategic plan as part of the CNA process aligns financial resources with long-term needs by setting short and long-term priorities based on an exhaustive process of data collection, professional review, and dynamic collaboration. Now, that is different than looking at a list and saying, okay, what do we feel you like? You know, those decisions, when made for today, may work. But when as the years go on, and we have a 40-year-old building, those kinds of decisions are going to hurt us. So with having a longer term view, we can incorporate a vision of what those priorities are going to be developed, that have to be developed, how much they cost, so that for now, when we make a decision, it's well thought out and the consequences of that decision is weighed against future needs. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay. Next slide.
Yeah, it's frozen. 1 second.
Froze. I was wondering, that looked familiar.
Just the
No, that's not.
Okay. Once the CNA study is complete, the board will incorporate its findings into a 10-year plan which will set priorities and align financial resources to achieve the objectives that have been identified. As discussed, a communication plan will be established so that ownership input will be assured throughout the process. Once completed, it will be shared with the ownership. Next. Okay, so why do we have to go through all this and the expenses and the effort? We've never done it before. Okay, we've never done a strategic plan in this place. The last group that we did a strategic plan. No, a strategic plan, not a KIPCON study. This is not a KIPCON study. This is not a study just of what building needs are. This is where do we want to be in 10 years. This takes everything into consideration and projects out the vision of the ownership and the governing body. A very big difference. The Galaxy was built as a luxury building 40 years ago. Due to its age, much of its infrastructure is in a state of disrepair due to decades of disinvestment and an absence of long-term planning. An example of the sad state this sad state is our plumbing system. I prefer hot showers. Actually, I prefer water. Towel that's not good. Many of its systems are antiquated or obsolete. Sign the log for your package, for example. You know, it's 2018. We're signing manual logs. You know, we need to update our equipment.
No, we're not signing it all.
But as we modernize, the board recognizes that we need to modernize, do things better, faster, in order to ensure that we're giving our ownership what they need and want. Little things add up, and we need to get things done utilizing state-of-the-art technology to capture information and develop solutions to modern-day operational problems. The CNA strategic plan allows us to identify and prioritize short and long-term needs in an organized and informed process, preempting making short-term decisions and at the cost of long-term needs. Next. The CNA strategic plan is a dynamic and collaborative process involving the board, management, and most important, the ownership. Teamwork, collaboration, reason, and clear action. A plan to determine our future together. Thank you.
Good job, Rich.
Yes, we're gonna.
We're gonna get questions at the end, I'm sorry, we're gonna get all the questions at the end. Just mark those. We need to get through the agenda, it's a lot, we have a lot of information we're trying to get out tonight. It's probably more than most of us can get, but we'll circle back and we'll get to all the questions on each individual one in a few minutes. So the next is the security CCT upgrade. So security in general is a different concern for the Galaxy than it has been in the past. We have a lot of major issues here, and people have made statements and innuendos about it in the past, but it's a major concern. We had a significant study made here at the Galaxy by Ally and by Plan. We're not going to publish it. It's very sensitive information. It exposes all of our vulnerabilities as a property. You can talk to all of your board members and they will be glad to discuss it. We're not going to make that public information because obviously it exposes all the vulnerabilities in the access point that we have. And they're very extensive. One of the information plans is 40 pages, the other one is 20 something. So it goes from all the way to all the concerns that you guys voice all the time, and I see and hear all the time, from people being allowed to access the property from the front, to people being able to access the property from the garage. Our front desk services and their vulnerability and allowing vulnerability to the population. All of that is encompassed in this study. So the real plan on that is how much and how we stage that out. Because again, while people think the garage is a big project, this is an even more expensive and a bigger project. The initial outset for both of those studies said that we need a closed caption television system, which is integrated. Our current system is 2 or 3 different systems which log into different locations. And when you need information, sometimes owners are frustrated at the lack of immediate response because those systems are not integrated and tied together. So just to do that and bring us back to a centralized system, a CCTV system where all of the cameras and monitors are integrated into a central location where one company and one firm and not the front desk services and security are separately answering for those responsibilities, but that they're monitored and answered to by one firm. And basically kind of what you're looking at, where you have 1 or 2 people who monitor all those cameras and the information is collected and saved for a certain amount of time. That initial estimate, and we haven't gone into detail and the logistics of every point of it. The initial estimate is around $550,000. That's just to be able to look at it. The second part of that is the immediate response. What we get from that is not only now are they all talking, which we have implemented a system where they're all on radio interactive and they all speak immediately, and that system will be online in the next 30 days where they're all on the radio system and they all talk one-on-one. That was a big step. Previously we had cell phones and previous boards had implemented different situations where for monitoring needs they implemented a system, so we made that plunge to have them all talking on radios where they all hear the communication all at once. And Daniel will be on that system too. Sorry to call you out. He'll be listening to it too, and that's his primary job will be to monitor all this and coordinate all the systems. The next part of that is to have a centered monitoring system, which is the CCTV upgrades. After that, the other things are all our perimeters. So we have garage entrances, we have the driveway entrances, we have the malls, we have the front doors. All of those are vulnerability points for security. And it's a serious conversation because we as a community need to talk about how all of those decisions impact us. We can have fobs on the front door, which require you to have a fob to get in the front door just like it requires you to get into the garage. We can have gates at the entrance to get in, which are automated gates, at the doors and the entry levels to the driveways. We have to have public access to the mall because it's a public space. So how do we control the access after they access the mall before they get into our common areas, to our living areas? So all of those are things that will definitely impact our living and our living status, because then you will have to have gated entrance to get in. You will have to have fobs to get in the doors. You will have to go through security to get in. And then the mall will have public access, and then we need to have control points after that and how you access the mall and still get into the galaxy. They're all things that need to be considered and spoken about, but they're all expensive programs. Those programs alone, if you're talking $500,000 just for the monitoring system, the initial primary couple of numbers we got were in excess of $2-3 million to implement those programs. So it's a staged program again, and we need to continue that open dialogue between the board and the community about which programs we implement first and second. And the second part of the security is having signage and posting rules and regulations that we expect to be enforced so that it's readily available for those people we expect to enforce them. Monument signs in the mini parks, monument signs by our common areas that we expect security to enforce. Those are first steps. Those are a lot less expensive than the fob systems, the gate systems, the automated system. All of them are very important, but with the 2 major studies we had, I think that the end of it was that the first step to all of that would be to implement a CCTV system so that we have monitoring and we have video that we can recall. The second step would be to have control points and checkpoints to access things before they get there and we video them. So that's the next thing that on the agenda that we were looking at. So the next thing on mine is the Joe is the R&R overview, but
No, it's me.
okay. So and Joe kind of touched on that already. So if you have any questions, we'll reveal later. So next is Sohela with the Transformer project.
And as you can see,
Excuse me, I gotta leave. It's too hot in here. I'm gonna faint. Okay? This is not a good environment.
And
So
can you
sorry.
remember, please?
so
Yes.
as you can see, there are so many important and critical projects that they are all very costly. But there is another one that I would like to talk about, and to my mind is very critical, and that is replacing the transformers that, as you know, we have 37 transformers that provide electricity to the units that they are connected to. These transformers convert 480 volt power to 120 for use in apartments. So far, one failed, if you remember, in December 15, 2016. 6 were replaced, which I'm not sure about the 6. I think the board approved the replacement of 6, but I think so far 3 has been replaced. If you remember, one failed in December 2016, and 52 apartments in Tower 1 left with no electricity for 8 days. Any of you was one of those people that was affected by losing the power, failing at one person? So, two, okay. And then 3. So you understand how horrible it was and how difficult, how badly it impacted the residents. Yeah. So the residents, they were with no power for 8 days, and they had to go, some of them they went to the hotel, some of them they went to their relatives, some of our other residents, they offered accommodation to their neighbors. So it was a terrible situation, and I remember that the problem was that we didn't have transformers in stock, and we had, they're very big, they're very expensive, we can't keep them, in stock. So we had to order it, and at one point they told us it might take 6 weeks, but we were fortunate that we found another one which took about 3-4 days to be delivered. But it wasn't only that, again, we had to spend 1.5 days to install it. We had to call the elevator company to come and adjust the weight of the elevator because they were very heavy. So it was a disaster, and we were really working hard. Still, we couldn't get it done earlier than 8 days. So it is really important that we look into that. And fortunately, so we have to make sure, and these are 40 years old. As you can see, these transformers are different sizes. We have got 150 kilovolt amps, 220 kilovolt amps, 300, 400, and 500, which recently they are not making 400 anymore, so the 400 ones should be replaced by 500 one. The cost of these transformers is approximately $500,000. And currently, electrical transformer testing has been carried out, and the whole week this month is going to, by the end of September, is going to be completed. This is very critical. People that they were impacted by that, they know that how bad it can be, so we want to be proactive. And these are 40 years old, and the lifetime of these transformers is about 40 years old, and on top of that, they haven't been, we didn't have a preventive maintenance on them, they haven't been tested before, so because of all these things, this is one of the projects that we have to pay attention and we have to get it done. After we get the recommendations from these people that they are testing them, so we are going to have a development plan to replace them over 1, 2, or 3 years, depending on how much money we have and how we can afford it.
More questions?
If
One next, I'll take the,
we're done, I have a question.
no, we're gonna do the questions at the end.
Questions, yes, at the end. At the end. Yes, at the end. Approve everything you see. I'll just trick you.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I just found what I could, so I'm trying to listen there, I apologize. Rich is going to talk about the restoration.
Hi everybody, Rich Delafuente. The restoration crew has been working diligently around, in the garage, trying to get the pillars painted. Certain floors have been done. They've been touching everything up that they could do. It's basically just a two-man crew now. Right now they're on a hiatus in between their 90-day contracts. We're going to be bringing them back again for another 90 days after we vote on it. We're looking at everything they've been doing. They've been doing a good job in the garage, especially with the pillars and getting everything painted and just like maintaining out of the line of sight and just keeping everything going. They have done a lot of work in the mini park. They've done the pergolas around on the berm. And it's just a small little group that we use as targeted points to bring up key points of the galaxy. We'll be following them, we'll be watching them, we'll be seeing what they do. We're going to have a more strategic plan for them when they come back for their next 90-day stint, even though they're only 2 guys. They are working, and we do see small improvements as we go through the garage, especially now with the traffic coding coming and everything else that's being done. The columns are being done, they're painting the walls, it's brightening up in the garage, and I think they're doing okay. Thank you.
So next is Mike to talk about the locker room and spa.
Thank you. Thank everybody all for coming tonight. Apologize for the air conditioning. Before I talk about the locker room, I just want a brief note about this board. This board is a board that's been working together and working very hard on many projects. The previous boards did a fairly good job while they were here, and we want to work together to accomplish as much as possible. I was fortunate enough to tour the ladies' locker room with Danny Cabrera, an excellent addition to the workforce here. It really, he's got wonderful ideas. He's in hotel management. He knows about spas and locker rooms on a high level. So I was rather fortunate to get down there with him and with Richard Delafuente. Getting back to this board, I mean, Richard Vasquez and I went and toured Stevens Institute just to look at some of the landscaping that takes place there. That's something I think needs some work. Justin's been doing a great job with so many items, and he's like the party planner extraordinaire. And Wade has been doing an excellent job working tirelessly on so many different ideas, and Richard Miller and Sahila, constant knowledge, and Joe is the numbers man extraordinaire. But and Richard Vasquez did a great job tonight with that presentation. That was awesome, and that's what the future is about. But the locker room itself is something that we really have to discuss. I know it's been way overdue in arriving. I mean, the fact that there are still rugs down in the ladies' locker room is astonishing to me. I just can't believe the fact that we have rugs in an area where it gets wet most of the time. We were sitting with tiles. Richard Delafuente showed me that there are pallets of tiles that were installed in the men's locker room. They're sitting there in storage. We have enough, and the tiles that are in the men's locker room would look wonderful in the ladies' locker room as well. I invite everyone after this session tonight to go, and for the gentlemen that haven't been inside the ladies' locker room, it is your opportunity. You'll be shocked. I mean, really, it needs a good amount of work, and the men's locker room needs some work too. But the numbers that I've been seeing floating around to accomplish the task in the ladies' locker room, I mean, I've heard $235,000 up to $250,000, and you all know damn well, by the time the job gets accomplished with change orders, it's going to be like $300,000. And I find that's way out of line. So I'd like everyone, if they can, if they take time after the meeting, just to take a look at what's in there. I think we can accomplish a lot. I spoke to Daniel about it. He has a lot of experience in that area, and I think that we can do just a little touch up in the men's locker room and complete the ladies' locker room for half that price.
When are you
Seriously.
going to meet with the women and get feedback from us before?
Well, if you'd stop yelling out in the middle of the meeting, you know, oh, that's for a reason, you know, for a reason. No, excuse me, it's not your time, sorry. Let me finish. What we'd like to do is, this board here wants to accomplish that task as quickly as possible. We'd like as much input. I mean, we have something already done in drawings and plans. However, we'd like to see more people get involved with the spot committees and to get more input from you, because it's your project. It's not ours. We want to put something in place that everyone will really appreciate. So after the meeting is over, if anyone would like to take a look at the locker rooms, I'd appreciate, because this way you'll have much more information. And
We know how it looks.
yes, you know how it looks, but the gentlemen do, and the ladies don't know how the men's locker room look as well, and that might be informative. Yeah.
Ladies' locker
Yes.
room never was
Okay.
done.
Who do we have next? I thank you. I thank you for your time. And as I say again, if you'd like to take a look, the gentlemen would like to see the inside of the ladies' locker room to get more of a handle on what what conditions are down there. It might be interesting. Thank you. Tough crowd. Wow.
Okay, we're gonna open it up, everyone, we're getting there, we're getting close, there's a lot of information, I appreciate everyone's patience. Justin wanted to make a couple comments, I'm gonna pass it over to come back in 1 second. But we are gonna open this up, and everyone is gonna have the opportunity, so I'm not saying you got no input. Just let's get one more piece here, and then we're gonna open it up to see comments.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I just wanted to say a couple of quick things on the comments that were made from the board members. On Joe, I just wanted to confirm, Joe, on the budget, everything that's budgeted, all the projects for the R&R also has contingency in there, so whatever, if there was any,
He said it. That's what he's going to do.
if there was any change orders on most of those projects, it's still covered in the budget. I just wanted to clarify for the homeowners that we are planning for worst case scenarios on most of the projects, so we shouldn't be over budget, and most of the projects are coming in under budget.
I can't speak to coming in under budget, but I can say that the projects that the board usually puts a 10% contingency on the higher ones. The boiler project has used the majority of that. The hallways are coming in on budget from what we're seeing now, and they're as close to completion as they are. I would be surprised if anything dramatic happened there. Those are the biggest projects right now, so.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm sorry, so just a little clarification for everybody. We're not over budget on any project.
Right, that's what
We are under budget on a couple, we're very close on it up to you. We've made some adjustments along the way to some engineering projects that have come to us, have under-engineered to try to meet numbers that were proposed to us by former managers, and they didn't encompass or upgrade us, so we have not gone over budget on a project in the past 2 years, so I think that's a big, big accomplishment. It doesn't mean it won't happen, but we are watching it very closely, and what we're trying to communicate tonight is that we are monitoring on a project by project budget.
The cash flow that's included in this is the most up-to-date information that we have at this point in time, and that's been through management, accounting, board questions, everything is up to date as it can be in communicating with the vendors.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say one thing. The single most important thing I believe that this board can do is complete the CNA project, which is a master plan, because we really don't want to have happen what happened to previous boards, late 90s, when they were repeatedly told, you must start to replace the fire safety system. They didn't listen. They had other priorities, so what happened? All three went in a very short time, and the board then had to replace all of them at once. So under this plan, you'll have a master plan, but the board must then pay attention to it. There's always changes that can be made, but we must have that master plan.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna give Justin a couple quick seconds, but I appreciate everyone's patience greatly, and I want to open it up, and everyone will respond, I want to open it up to comment.
There was a couple of groans from the homeowners when we were talking about the garage project, and I really feel, everybody's been displaced for a long time, it's been dirty. The garage was very, very neglected for many, many years. But the time frame is realistic, because even if we had all the money to do the project, we still would have to put all the cars somewhere, and it's totally impossible to do all the floors all at the same time. So we have to have a plan going forward, and that's where the CNA comes in. And I mean, the board is really working very diligently on all these things.
And I know it's really hot, and I appreciate everybody, but I just want to give anyone who wants the opportunity something to say or ask a question, because I have the mic, so I'll kind of pass it around.
Okay, I don't want to ask you.
You're not first.
Hi, Elena Center.
I'll get everyone, I promise.
I've been here for 36 years, and I'm looking around the room, and I see many of you who've been here a long time, and you know how the bar has come down. August 1st, 2011, Plan came to the Galaxy. They handled security, housekeeping, and lobby services. It has gotten consistently worse. We got rid of Plan for security, Allied's here. In my opinion, they have put the fox in the chicken coop by asking Plant and Universal to tell us how to handle this place when they haven't handled it in all these years, and it's gotten worse. I am given, as a realtor, keys every day that I never have to sign out for, okay? I've brought it up at board meetings, it's ignored. How many of you have had your keys lost by your concierge, inclusive of your master keys? My master keys were given out. How many of you have had packages lost, or as landlords not gotten your rent? So I have 3 minutes, okay? So what I want to say is, for this board to consider spending $550,000 on a CCTV program, rather than making sure that the staff we pay to work here service us, is ridiculous. What if the guy at the TV falls asleep? Fix the problem at the root. Plant is horrible.
Okay. I'm not going to interject. No, because it was there long before.
I'm not blaming you, I gave the date.
Hi, my name is Gail Hoffman. I have a question about the hallways and the lobby. But before I get to that, I just want to make a comment. You say no project has gone over budget yet, and I'm happy, and I hope not. But I know from the painting, my floor in town room was done almost a year ago. And the painting is just disappearing off the doors. So I'm assuming you're going to have to repaint, so you guys may go over budget. I know from other people, yes, Tower 1, Tower 3, cracking, disappearing. It's like they put it on bush it's like a wash. Okay, so hopefully it won't go over budget and you get the money back from whoever recommended that painting. My question to you is when you mentioned the lobby. Now, I know our lobbies were done either 2006 or 2007. It's either 9 or 10 years. And yes, the residents, even if they're below the lobby or above, deserve to have same paper and carpeting we do. They're residences, they're not lobby, albeit close. However, the rest of the lobby should not be papered in the same thing the residences are, or carpeted. Otherwise, turn around and we'll throw up and get dizzy. This whole place can't look the same. So when you say the lobby and the paper, what paper are you talking about? Do you plan on putting the residential paper everywhere in the lobby and putting that carpeting? The lobby should be a separate atmosphere.
Okay, so I'll address both things you said. One thing is that the first question you asked about the paint, that was addressed. Sherwin-Williams, the consultant came in. The spec was written by the design firm. The contractor followed the spec that was developed by GTCA, like it or not. We addressed that. The doors for the apartments, that paint was spec'd and picked low to the BOC so that there was not high emittance into your apartment. And then, wait, if you let me finish, then we addressed the problem, the paint was adjusted, the contractor did come, and maintenance is going to readdress the doors that are shipping with a new paint, but it will require that you leave your door open for a few hours because it has a higher VOC on it. That decision was made based on the VOC and the toxicity of the paint. So, you know, and wait, we already addressed that. I let you speak, I didn't interrupt you. We addressed that we brought in the consultant, we brought in Sherwin-Williams, okay, who is the manufacturer of the paint, not the contractor. They said that the way to fix the problem was to get this new paint, which has a higher VOC. We're going to have to go back, and we will have to address that. It's a nominal amount of money, and we will still be within budget, even after that's done. We still have, that's not a major cost. It's a paint and it's maintenance. It's within our operating costs. It will not exceed us. It will not extend our hours. The other question was about...
The residences and the lobby, I got confused.
Okay, so that's a design choice. Your choice is to have it different. Someone else would be to unify it and use other fixtures to change it. We can approach it two ways. We can do it one, which is to replace and replenish, which means that we would continue what we have at a low cost. The other is to commission the designer just to do the lobbies. Both are open for conversation. There is no exact plan. Both are open for conversation. One is to, we gave you a whole list of things. Each one needs to be addressed. We're going step by step. Honestly, Gail, and I'm really trying to design a second. When we get there, we will put out a plan, we'll let everybody look at it, and then we'll get feedback, and then we'll go to the next step.
I just don't want to see the gray paper and the gray floor.
Well, no one wanted to see gray, no one wanted to see gray, no one wanted to see it 14 years, we're finally like 89% done. So no one wanted to see it, no one wanted that. We're 89%, we're almost there. Can we just finish it? Those lobbies were 3/4 of the way done when I moved here 14 years ago. We've had 4 different processes. That we had an intern when we had the fire a few years ago. We had different carpet that went up to the landings than we had in the landings. We had different paper in the lobby than we had then. We had different pictures. All I'm telling you is this is where we're at now. We're 89% there. Let's just go to the next step. I'm sorry.
Judy Farmer, Tower 3. It's my understanding that we are all responsible for our own windows. Is that correct? Right. Okay. I have been waiting for windows for 22 years. Okay? And I need the board, and a lot of us need the board, to make a decision about what kind of windows we can purchase on our own that would fit with the whole design of the building. I cannot open my windows, and that's not the way to live. Okay? So we need the board to make a decision. I'll pay for my windows, but I can't just get windows unless you people make a decision about what windows we can buy. It won't cost the Galaxy a damn thing because we have to pay for our own windows.
I agree, and that's part of the CNA plan. The CNA plan has to do with what is the part that, and then we have to do that. And listen, Judy, I'm right there with you. I bought new windows for my apartment. I paid for brand new windows. They look like I did when I moved in. And that was 14, I paid for brand new windows to put in. Well, we did it through management, like everyone else did. Replacement, the same thing we had, not new windows. We need new windows, and that will be addressed as part of the CNA and how we're going to move forward. You can't, and you're right, and we do need a window plan, absolutely. Absolutely, 1 second, I'm sorry, one at a time. I'm going to move back up here, and we're going back, but we will address that.
Hi, I'm Gina Riggy, I live in Tower 2, been here since 1990. Quick question about the transformers and Martha Gonzalez, she has a list of people that are disabled and perhaps need help during, various times, various events, whether they're, cataclysmic or just events in the galaxy with the transformers. Recently you did give a nice notice about when the transformers are being shut down. Unfortunately, because I do have 2 seniors, my mom has asthma, she's disabled, and I have an uncle, our breakers did not come back on. I think a lot of people's did. But I kept hearing, oh, everything's fine, we're just waiting for it to come back on. Well, 5 hours later, my mom sat without air conditioning. And is there some way that, and I had to throw out the food in our fridge, etc. Luckily, nothing else happened. Besides, she got stuck in a reclining chair for 3 hours. But, but is there some way that Martha Gonzalez, and even after she leaves at 5, somebody can pick up that list when we have something like this that could affect people's lives, their lives, and just check, go down that list. There's probably like 20 people on there. But is there something we could do like that for the quality of life in the building?
I agree, and I answered
Any of you that have a complaint wants to write to Martha Gonzalez, there is a complaint list that she has to log it in that complaint list. And the complaint list, the board members, they're going to look at it and they're going to see what is the problem. I didn't know about this at all.
I'm not a complainer, I just want to try to make it better for next
yes,
time.
but basically if the management, once you complain, the management has to respond. Okay. But if they don't, I'd rather that the board members, they know that we're going to instruct them that, to get back to you.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, so next. I'll come back.
Michael, I'm amazed that you're inviting people to go into the ladies' locker room and look at it.
I'm brave.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
I've been asking for months to have a look at the layout that has already been done. But I've been told, when I first asked, I was told by Lee, no, you are not allowed to see it. And then she said,
no, wait, I'm going to speak.
You're not on the spa
Did you not see this?
I saw it for like 2 seconds.
Okay, so you saw it.
And then I said, you know what?
Wait, but you saw it. More than once.
No, once.
What, you told me
No, once.
You told me what?
No, one time.
Okay, but you saw
I asked to see it. I'll show you the email. I asked to see it again, to have a longer look at what they already did. But I was just told, absolutely not, you cannot see it.
Oh.
And then I said, why? Why just can't I look at it? If you tell me it's done deed and you don't want comments, fine. If you tell me it's a work in progress, fine. But just why not let me come to the office and have a look at it? And it goes to the basic question. As owners, what are we allowed or not allowed to see? As in form of document, original checks, blah, blah, blah.
I can address part of that. Mike, go ahead. If you want to, go ahead, but I can address part of that. As far as checks and payments, I can address that one. Go ahead.
Yeah, but as part of the process,
Can't hear you.
As part of the process, I think everything should be on the internet, for God's sake. I mean, why would you not be allowed to see what you're going to fund? This is, we want to make it as open as possible. I brought that up recently. But the thing there is that I'd love the more input into this. This is something that has to be completed and should be a priority because the condition there is not good. It's not good.
Yeah, sorry, wait, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Actually, I remember that case, the reason was that the board it wasn't approved by the board. And what happened is, it was decided that first, board look at it and approve it, and once we said that, okay, that's the project that we're gonna go ahead with that, we were supposed to put it in the spa lounge for everybody, all the homeowners to look at it, and then we get the feedback. But because that wasn't a project that we intended to do right away, and we didn't approve it, that is why we didn't present it to the homeowner.
Okay, I'll make a couple of points in. For number one, it was available, you were on the committee, you didn't see it, number one. Number two, you did see it, number one. Number two, it will be available for everyone to see, not Janet, not anyone, when it becomes a little more final, we're going to move forward with the process. So it will be a formal presentation in the spot for everyone to see. As number three, everyone has right to any document. That's a work in process of the board. Not every homeowner has right to access the work in process. It's not formal. It hasn't been approved. It hasn't been approved by the budget. It wasn't submitted. It's a work in process. When it's a final document, before it goes to a vote, you will be able to see it, just like everyone else.
But then did you put her input into it? 'Cause she's just-
Everyone gets an input.
Yeah.
Everyone gets an input. And we listened to the whole community's input on the garage. We made a lot of changes on the garage based on the community input. So if you want to like make brash statements, that's fine. But we did listen. No, we listened to everyone. You will get an input. We will listen. We heard what everyone said about the garage. We made considerations and changes, and we will be interested to further develop and change based on that. So who's next?
About the garage. Isn't it premature?
Jack, I'm sorry, you're giving everyone.
Eileen Barnett, Tower One.
You're the only one that's talking.
I was one of the ones that did not have any power on the coldest week of the winter. So I don't ever want to go through that again for any reason. Okay, but my concern is the windows in terms of safety and false fire alarms. Because if you can't open your windows and you burn something, you have no choice but to open your door, and that causes a false alarm.
I'd like to go back to that there's a security issue, and I realize that you're talking about big time security
Who are you?
techniques.
Say who you
Oh,
are.
I'm sorry. I'm Natalie Robbins, and I live in Tower 3, and I've been an owner for 16 years. Just going back to security, there might be like simpler things to do. For example, plant. I mean, we have concierges at the desk, different concierges every day, every week. They don't know us. They wouldn't know us. They wouldn't know an owner from a stranger coming in the door because they don't know us. They're new, or they're changed. You know, they go from tower to tower to tower. There's something really wrong with that, and maybe in the discussion we should be going back to having our own concierges, you know, like we used to have.
Absolutely, and I'll let Daniel address that because this is one thing that he was asked about.
Just 1 second. Hello, everyone. So I've been here for about 3 weeks, going on a month now. Oh, sorry. Going on a month now. I'm really,
Who are you?
I'm Daniel Cabrera. I'm the new resident operation manager. So I'm here. I was hired really to focus on concierge security, the spa area. I'm working really closely with plant. At this point, they don't even like me anymore because
And then we like you even better.
I'm bringing up a lot of faulty issues that should be rectified. I mean, there's protocols of certain things. So I'm bringing all this to the table now. I got them in my office almost every single day. So going forward, pretty much the attitude is if they don't get up to par, then we're gonna explore other options.
I'm going to move back. I'm going to give everybody a chance before I go back.
Hi, my name is Phil Percy, I live in Tower 1. I was here the last informational meeting you guys had about the reserve parking spaces. And I actually emailed my comments to management, and you said that some decisions have been made. No one shared anything with me, and I did request that from the people I did speak with at the end of that meeting here, as well as Dorothy. Can you elaborate anything for us?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those were revised, they were reread last meeting. They're in the update. They could be, the last revisions are in the weekly update. I'll make sure that we do a new post just specifically for that and isolate it, because as much information as we're trying to get out there, I do realize that those posts are getting more and more lengthy and cumbersome. So I will definitely ask that before the next reading and the next meeting, that we do a specific post just for the garage and nothing else. So I know there's a lot of stuff floating out there, but I'm going to keep moving back. I'm sorry, because everybody needs a chance.
Hello, my name is Elsa Schwartz, W314E. My question is, you talked about the paint, and who is supervising the materials on the firewalls? They are...
The materials for what? I don't hear you.
You talked about the paint, but you didn't talk about the materials in the fire doors, that they are unraveling. Some doors are really bad. Who is going to be responsible for fixing that?
Unfortunately, it wasn't part of the contract, and well, it was in the contract. It was spec'd how they were supposed to install them. So there's a clear corner guard that needs to go on all the doors to keep that from fraying. And unfortunately, that is going to be the responsibility of GTCA. We sourced that. I've bound that. It's a very small L corner that goes all the way down that will seal both sides. It will be added. It's a small cost, and if we do it with in-house maintenance as opposed to Accent Group has become exorbitant in their labor costs, because now we're at a point where it's change orders. It is definitely on the list. It's on their list of, after the contract is finished, that the additional corner guards, if you notice in some of the hallways, there's a corner guard where you transition to the fire door, and then there's the electric door and the garbage doors that have another corner. When they wrote the contract, they didn't take into account those additional corners. So, as opposed to paying Accent Group the additional money to install them, which was a huge number, it was about a third of the cost to buy the corner guards and have our maintenance put it in. So it's definitely a realistic date. They'll probably start in November, but they're ordered. All those corner guards are ordered, and those clear plastic corner guards on both the doors.
Some materials, some doors, they have bubbles.
Well, the bubbles, you should let them know, because they have to replace those right now. Well, those have to be replaced right now. There's some maintenance in Tower 1 and 2 where the wallpaper goes up, and there's some mismatch. Those are already been addressed, and I have emailed documentation. They're pulling those down and readdressing those in the next 10 days. And those will be addressed before they get paid. So I'm going to keep going this way, I'm sorry, and then I'll come back this way.
Hi, Lisa Velasco, Tower 1. I have several questions. First is an educational one. Are the transformers just for the individual apartments or also for the common areas?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. These 37 transformers that we have, they're only for the apartments. Based on their sizes, they serve different number of apartments.
Okay, well, I'm here 40 years, and when I first moved here, we had a lot better ventilation in the hallways and in the elevators than what we have now. And the ventilation is so bad that you can faint from heat.
The transformers are not for the apartments, they're for the common areas. So those are the tower units, and those are on the list of things that need to get done. There are units on top of every tower. No, they're not functioning properly. I'll be totally candid with you, they have not been functioning properly in a very long time. So that's why the hallways are very hot when you come outside, and the transition down here. Those all have to do with the units on top of this, on the rooftops.
That's on the list?
It's on the list. It's not a cheap number. Unfortunately, we are digging ourselves out of a very big hole. The point of the meeting tonight was just to let you guys all be on the same page that we have a lot to do, and we're making progress. But these are big numbers, and those units all need to get replaced. And when those are replaced, you will see a significant temperature difference in the hallway.
Oh, good. We need that. Question number 2. Since you said the garage project is going to be another 5 to 7 years, he also said years.
Yeah, we're looking at, we're looking at a third of our R&R fund dedicated only to the garage. So if you're looking at that, considering $1 million a year, 5 to 7 million, there's a 5 to 7 years.
Okay, but my question
If you allocate more money.
my question is it going to be an ongoing 5 to 7 years of having 2 floors being cordoned off without access, even when there's no work being done?
Personally, I could not agree with you more. I live here too. I go through the same BS that you go through, okay? I really think there'd be a greater accountability and a greater checking on that, and that has to do with operations and facilities. And we intend to hold them directly more accountable. I couldn't agree with you more of not having access and being in no work.
I have one more issue. When someone fills out a decorating agreement and what's the other one? The contractor. I understand that there has to be fees. No fees. Okay. But if somebody is requesting delivery of a piece of furniture, why does the insurance level have to be the same for somebody who's delivering something as it is for a contractor?
And what if they bang the hallway? Who's going to fix that? What if they damage the elevator? No, I'm just telling you. What if they bring?
$4 million.
It's not. It's not for the umbrella is. But if they damage the elevator, it could be a successive amount.
They're willing to provide insurance, but the Galaxy is requesting the additional umbrella, and a lot of
Because most
don't supply
agreed. Go ahead. Most delivery companies and properties of this size require similar requirements. If they damage common property, if they damage the lobby.
Wait, not only that, but what if someone accidentally gets hurt or killed? That's basically covering all of our assets. We all have to pay that. So we make sure that they have the right insurance just in case they killed someone on the property.
So if you go to an upholsterer and have 5 chairs recovered, he has to have that increased level of insurance.
If he's going to deliver to the property, yes, because if he damages common property, either you or he should be responsible, not the association.
I'm not saying no insurance.
I'm sorry.
I'm saying not as high a level. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Janet Brennan, Tower 2. I have great concerns about the cleanliness. They're vacuuming less. I have great concerns about the cleanliness. They're vacuuming less. We have dark carpets that show everything. If I had a guest come into my home, I'd have to vacuum the hall. It's pathetic. And also the laundry rooms are filthy, always. Dirty, and broken equipment. And that's not common.
Okay, sure. There's a maintenance schedule for the hallway vacuuming, and the laundry rooms are way overdue. And what's going to happen is the laundry rooms, just so you all know, they're going out for RFPs. They're currently, RFPs are written. We're soliciting new companies. When you get a new company to supply the new machines, part of the contract is that they will refurbish all the laundry rooms. So when they come in with the new machines, which is overdue, it's way overdue. It should have been done last year. It was past due last year. Well, the carpet is one thing. And the schedule, honestly, it's like how much and how often you want them to vacuum. But the laundry rooms, I can tell you, Sahel, I'll give you 1 second.
But I just
But
wanted-
the laundry rooms are out for, we need new machines, we need a new contract, it's up for bid. When the new contract comes in, we'll redo all the laundry rooms.
Yeah. Wait, can I make a comment?
Cannot hear.
Wait, can I make a comment? Regarding what Lisa said, Lisa, I, as a board member, I agree with you. There are some cases that we really don't need that huge insurance that is required. I think I take it to the board to discuss that. I think that's a good item to discuss.
Hi, Peggy Rackett, Tower 258. I'd like to address the Tower 2 garage elevator. If anyone is concerned about the security, that's a major area there. When Sharon was walking the grounds, I was with her several times when she instructed the men down on the 8th floor, ladies who were there, that anyone who comes in, comes to ask them if they live here. If they reply yes, then ask them what unit they're in. I said to her, that's not adequate, because after all these years, you can say 1, 2, or 3, and it's in every building. You say A or B, it's usually in every building. Why don't they show a fob? If they don't have a fob, then you can call the front desk. I'm not finished, please, because that garage is even worse than this. So now we let everyone in, so I said to one security guard the other night, please, this man doesn't even live here. I know he lives up on 69th Street, between Park and New York Way. And he says, well, he said he lived here. I said, but that's not adequate. You have to ask him questions. He goes, oh, I wasn't instructed to do that. This is a very serious problem. We have more people coming in here, non-residents, using the garage elevator. I had to wait for 3 elevators with my 2 dogs in order to get onto the garage because they're coming with their bicycles. They ride in, come in on the 8th floor, 2 bicycles. I'm going in with my dogs. I said, you're going to have to wait. Well, the 3rd time, I said, no, you have to get out. I live here. You don't. But why do I have to confront these people? Additionally, with that Tower 2 garage elevator, down on the lower mall, we have a new e-commerce company there, right next to, as you're getting off on the lower mall. That e-commerce company has really expanded in the few weeks that they're here. They just rented another space next to the Pilates. They use our garage elevator every night about 5 o'clock. They pile up these carts, these rail trucks, with big boxes. They come in, they used to go through the mall and go up the ramps and put it onto UPS. They don't do that anymore. They use our garage, Tower 2 garage. One stands there holding the garage while the others pile everything into the UPS truck. And I did tell it to a director while we put it. And not only that, our security and our wonderful man Lewis, who instructs people in Spanish how to get to the 8th floor and go to the River Road by using our elevator.